Hello, my name is Harold Walker, and I am a part of the 8303 Educational Leadership Residency Program here at West Georgia University. And I will be presenting today on failure rates for economically disadvantaged students in the area of numeracy. And so when we look at the area of focus, one of the things we wanted to do here at McNair High School is to increase the proficiency rate and distinguished rates amongst students with economically disadvantaged students in the areas of Algebra 1. And so mostly those are ninth grade students. And so our data kind of show that about 70% of our students that are economically disadvantaged are scoring at the beginning levels in math. And so we did get this information from the EOC scores, the MAP scores, and some of the demographic data. And so our goal is to increase the algebra score rates by 3% on the state tests for the 24-25 school year. And as you can see, some of the data from the last 3 years for McNair High School, except of the winter 2022 scores, over 80% of our students score in the beginner's learning stages, which is significantly different from the county and the district as well as the state. And so we wanted to ensure that we look at this data and analyze that we only have about 3% of our students, 3 to 6% of our students that are scoring proficient and above. And that number will be able to increase, especially from the last data set from spring 23. At 3%, we want to get it to 6% for the fall of 2024. And so here's some more data. This kind of extracted the economic disadvantaged students. As you can see, in the year 2022, we had about 84% of our students score in the beginnings level. And that really actually decreased rather, which is a goal of ours, and it decreased to 66%. So that's pretty much a 17% decrease, which is classified as an increase for the students, because when they decrease in those areas, their numbers will increase in other areas such as developing, proficient, and distinguished, where we really wanted them to be in the proficient area. And so we did take some MAP data because we know that MAP has a positive correlation to what the students will perform on the EOCs. And we want to kind of look and see if that data is as congruent as the ones from the data we see from the EOCs, which is pretty much the same. As you can see, is about 80% of our students are within the band, from the first band to the 60th band, are scoring in those areas. So again, they're underperforming, especially at the ninth grade level, which those students are the ones who are taking the EOC test in Algebra 1. And so why are students scoring low in Algebra 1? Some areas we kind of looked at was the gaps in foundational math. So we know that students as early as elementary school have some of those concepts that they're struggling with. And so we're looking at those and how it kind of correlates when they get to the Algebra 1 section. So research shows that students who lack the sense of basic operations and pre-algebra concepts will struggle significantly in math. The second area is limited resources and support for students. And so like my school, which is Title I school, areas such as tutorials, pedagogy for teachers, even large class sizes are a hindrance for student achievement. And so these are the areas with others that we looked at and saying why our students are scoring so low. Two other areas that we kind of looked at as well is one is the attendance and engagement issue. We have a huge attendance issue here at my school, and we know that it's a positive correlation. If you don't come to school, you don't get good grades. And so with that saying, algebra is one of those courses or subjects where it kind of builds upon each other. So if you're missing 20, 30, 40, 50 days of school, it's pretty much impossible to learn the content whenever you arrive. And lastly, special ed and diverse learning needs. So students that have different learning styles and different needs, research shows indicates that differentiation and tailoring the assessment can significantly improve the math scores and outcomes. We at our school have students with high special ed needs and diversity needs. So we want to ensure that we can kind of correlate, our students not performing is pretty much the same as the research is showing. And so to reiterate our goal, by the end of 2024-2025 school year, we want to aim at a 3% increase in proficient and distinguished on the state exam for the Georgia Milestones in the area of Algebra 1 for our economic disadvantaged students. And here's some SMART goals that we kind of wrap ourselves around. We want to kind of put it around the MAP assessment because we know we took that assessment twice before taking the EOCs. And so with that SMART goal, we want to make sure that we provide some MAP training for collaborative planning, the monitoring the MAP assessment data, doing weekly check-ins, also acknowledging and celebrating those students who have some growth using MAP as well. And so our leaders and our leaders in the school, as well as myself, are charged with these different kinds of SMART goals, as well as we're going to kind of monitor it between August and the month of November. And some of our check-ins will definitely, and our evidence will definitely be those flexible grouping charts, those data charts, and those all monitoring tools, which we have for all our students. And so, for our professional learning committee, it consists of myself, the assistant principal over math, our math specialist, our math academic coach, our department chair, and our 2 Algebra 1 teachers. And so, some of our initial steps when creating our PLCs, we first wanted to really screen all our 9th graders in Algebra 1 that's taking that test, whether it's through the pretest, the first MAP assessment, and then we kind of moved on to the second PLC, where we kind of start looking at that data and looking at the instructional strategies and interventions that we're going to give to the different the different tiers of students, and which kind of led us to our next meeting, which is the second meeting, where we kind of looked at the tiers. How are we tiering our students from 1 to 3, having some robust monitoring processes kind of put in place. And then we have, the PLC 3, we kind of started looking at the intentional plans for all students. And then we continue to monitor and give feedback from the observations while we go into the classroom. And lastly, looking at that SMART goals and see if we kind of met our goals at the end of, the course. How we monitor these things again are our data meetings, our walkthroughs, observations, accountability groups, school-wise incentives, and our check-ins. And so what really worked? And so through the entire process, a few things that really worked was small group instruction. So really pulling the kids out of class before and after school, tutorials, flexible grouping, those things really was able for us to see some growth in our students so they could be able to focus. Professional development for teachers was another thing that really worked for us, training our teachers effectively on the strategies that they need, whether it's just the pedagogy and the strategies for the content, or just learning some of the instructional technology that can increase students' chances and outcomes when they're at home. And lastly, is our after-school and peer tutorial organizations. We was able to do after-school tutorials for kids for a span of about 2-3 weeks, as well as Saturday school, giving them other opportunities to expand on their growth inside the subject areas. Some other things that really worked was that individual supports and interventions. We stopped kind of looking at the test itself and looking at the interventions for students. So not seeing if they got right or wrong answers, but why are they getting them wrong, and having the students guide them through those interventions. That also went back to that small grouping and one-on-one tutorial targeting learning for our students. Again, accessing the technology and resources. We know that the decimal calculator for Algebra 1 was a huge thing because the students have to actually take the test using a decimal calculator. So Why are we using, hand calculators when the students and the teachers need to be very versed on the calculator used for the assessment? Then last, one other thing that really worked for us was the full year of Algebra 1. So we was able to have 2 classes of year-long Algebra 1 with the same teacher for those Tier 3 students that we got from, their MAP exams and their EOC exams, EOG exams when they was in 8th grade, and allowing us to kind of give them some more time before taking the test because we are on a 4x4 block. What didn't work, I would say the overall reliance on testing. It got to a point where we would just continue testing our kids, whether it's formative assessment, benchmarks, or the MAP assessment itself. And so we continue to test without having any intervention in place. And so we had to take a step back in one of our PLCs and really look at how are we reteaching our students. The second thing is insufficient technologies or access to technology. We assumed that our kids had what they needed, both at school or and at home, which is not the case. And so we had to look at partnering with T-Mobile and some other companies to ensure they have hotspots, one-to-one technology, Chromebooks, things of that nature. And then what also did not work was that one-size-fit-all instruction. We know that differentiation instruction is key to all students that are struggling, as well as not really wrapping up the pacing for the kids. We need to start looking at mastering instead of, just see, are we trying to get through the content. And so what do I do in the future as a leader coming in at the end of the school year? I will definitely work on collaborating with the middle schools and feeder schools and having some kind of vertical alignment with targeting, pre-planning concepts, and just working together to ensure that those students at the middle school level are getting some of the things that they will need once they get into the high school. Ensuring that our summer bridge program is heavily kind of built around Algebra 1 components as well. So when the students are visiting us during the summer, they have the opportunity to be exposed to some of the things that they will be having throughout the year. Redesigning our lessons to making sure that it has real world applications and career paths within that, so the students can kind of see themselves inside the learning. Another thing I do in the future will also make sure that every student has accessibility to whatever the technologies may be, manipulatives, things that they can work on at home, and just partner with community partners, ensuring that our students have everything they need. Being in that Title I school system, and 97% of our students are economically disadvantaged. And lastly is training the teachers about how to look at data the correct way. So making sure that in our PLCs that we are attacking data and also looking at what are we doing with those decisions and those interventions. And as a leader, again, things that I've learned is the importance of looking at holistically the whole entire child, not just a part of the child and academic success, making sure that we are looking at the data and making the decisions for every learning style. The next thing is really valuing collaboration amongst teachers, families, feeder schools, ensuring that we have a strong support system for our kids. It's critical that we provide them with the resources, whether it's technologies, even transportation if they need it from to and from school, if they want to stay after school, to ensure they can get more learning, and then also making real world applications for all students. And lastly, to kind of push what I've learned as a leader in areas of math, definitely offering those diagnostic assessments, knowing where your student is at before you kind of knowing where to go, providing that small group instruction tailored to the students' needs, really focus on small settings because our students can get distracted pretty easily, training our teachers, ensuring that they are culturally relevant, they make sure they have strong classroom procedures and practices to be able to deal with not only disruption, but students that are at very low and very high different levels in instruction. And lastly, integrating the technology, ensuring that we have adaptive platforms and interactive platforms or up-to-date platforms for our students to learn and reinforce their algebra skills. And so this concludes my presentation. And so we have not quite yet got the data back from the MAP assessment that we took this week. And we know that in next week we will be having, or when we get back from the break, we'll be having our EOC. So we're really excited about really implementing and executing the work that we did for the entire year. So thank you again. Have a good day.